Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something, well, fundamental to all of us, our breath.
Yeah, think about it. It's just always there, right? Happening automatically.
Exactly. That constant exchange of gases that just keeps us going.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? How this thing we do automatically, at its core, it's always about that exchange, usually getting oxygen in and pushing carbon dioxide out.
And biologically, this is absolutely crucial for energy, right? Down at the cellular level.
Absolutely. That's the real engine room. Breathing is just the first step.
Imagine your breath, this thing you do constantly, usually without even thinking about it. But what if it held keys to, say, boosting your energy or calming your mind right down?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Hey.
And what's really interesting is how this process, which is mostly automatic, right, just happens, but it also has this layer of conscious control. And that's really where we find all these opportunities to influence our well-being.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack the incredible potential hidden in just breathing, how it connects to our health, really overall, and the many ways people actually use it intentionally.
Right. And we've looked at a bunch of different sources for this. We're talking about the basic science, the functions of breathing,
Got the fundamentals.
but also things like the Wim Hof method, various yoga practices like pranayama, kundalini specifically.
And even some ancient wisdom, like from the Tao Te Ching.
So a real mix. And looking at the bigger picture, you see breath valued across so many different traditions. And now even science is catching up, seeing it as a really potent tool.
Definitely. Our goal here is to take all these different viewpoints and, pull out the most useful, the most interesting bits for you.
And for you listening, we get it. You want clear, practical knowledge, maybe some of those aha moments, but without feeling totally overwhelmed by jargon or complexity.
We want to make this really accessible.
Okay, but here's something really, really important we need to say right at the start. While we're going to talk about all these different breathing techniques, some of them quite powerful, you absolutely need to approach them carefully with awareness.
That is so crucial. We can't stress that enough. Some of these practices, because they are powerful, they have specific situations where they might actually be harmful.
Exactly. Like the Wim Hof method sources mentioned, it might not be suitable for people with, say, uncontrolled asthma or other serious health conditions.
Right. And for some of the yogic breaths, like Pastrika Pranayama, that's the bellows breath.
Very energizing.
Very. But there's a list of cautions. Pregnancy, menstruation, high blood pressure, heart conditions, hernias, stomach ulcers, epilepsy, vertigo, even recent abdominal surgery.
And those cautions actually tell you something, don't they?
Yeah.
They highlight just how profoundly these techniques can affect your body. It really underlines the need to be informed, to take responsibility.
Absolutely. So, bottom line, before you jump into trying any new breathing technique we discussed today, please talk to your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional.
Always the best approach. Better safe than sorry.
Definitely.
Agreed. Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with the real basics. Breathing kind of happens on two levels, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah, let's look at that. Automatic versus conscious breathing. So most of the time, it's this amazing automatic system, right? Constantly bringing in oxygen, getting rid of carbon dioxide, keeping us alive.
Yeah.
All without us having to lift a finger, mentally speaking.
Exactly. I mean, just think about the mechanics for a second. You breathe in, oxygen fills your lungs, passes into your blood,
Right.
travels all around your body to your tissues, your cells, giving them the energy they need.
And then the waste products, CO2.
Yep. The CO2 comes back into the blood, travels back to the lungs, and you breathe it out. It's just an incredibly elegant biological exchange system.
It really is, like this tireless engine running inside us. But then, like you said, there's the other side. We can control it.
Yes. And this is where it gets really interesting for, well, everything we're talking about, well-being, performance, all these different practices.
Right.
By intentionally changing how we breathe, the speed, the depth, the rhythm, we can actually influence our nervous system, our energy levels, even our emotional state.
So it's like finding the manual controls for something that usually runs on autopilot.
That's a perfect way to describe it. And, to understand where some of these conscious breathing practices originated, it helps to take a quick look back. Maybe start with yoga.
Yoga, yeah. Most people have heard of it, but maybe not the history specifically around breathing. How does that fit in?
Well, yoga's history is ancient, stretches back thousands of years. If we look at the earliest phase, the pre-classical period, maybe 3000 to 500 BCE.
Wow, okay.
Yoga seems to have been more about rituals, concentration, sort of laying a spiritual groundwork for
So
transcendence.
less about the physical postures we see everywhere today.
Exactly, not initially. Then came the classical period, famously marked by Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Yoga became more structured, really focusing on stilling the mind's fluctuations.
Okay.
And then we get to the post-classical period, roughly 800 to 1700 CE. This is where Hatha Yoga really comes into its own.
Hatha yoga, that sounds more familiar. What was this shift there?
The big shift in the post-classical era was this growing focus on the physical body as a vehicle. So
Right.
Hatha Yoga emphasized physical postures, asanas,
Mhm.
breathing exercises, pranayama, which is key for our discussion, and also cleansing techniques called shatkarmas. Texts like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika laid out detailed instructions. The goal was kind of preparing the body and mind for deeper states.
So pranayama, the breathing techniques, really became central during this period.
Absolutely. And this period also saw the development of concepts like chakras, the energy centers,
Hmm.
and nadis, the energy channels they flow through. These ideas became really interwoven with Hatha Yoga practice and philosophy. And interestingly, most modern yoga styles trace their roots back to this Hatha tradition.
It's amazing how these ancient practices continue to resonate. Okay, let's get practical. Let's talk about some specific techniques. Box breathing, that sounds pretty straightforward.
Yes, box breathing, or sometimes called 4-4-4-4 breathing. It's beautifully simple, actually. The idea is to create a box with your breath pattern.
Okay, walk us through it slowly. How does it work?
All right, so first you sit comfortably, breathe in slowly and deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Try to feel your belly expand first using your diaphragm.
Him for 4.
Yeah.
Got it.
Then you gently hold your breath, lungs full, also for a count of 4.
Hold for 4. Okay.
Next, breathe out slowly and completely, maybe through your mouth or nose, again for a count of 4. Really let the air go.
Out for 4.
And finally, you pause with your lungs empty, holding the breath out, for a last count of 4.
Pause for 4. So in, hold, out, hold, all 4 seconds, like drawing a square.
Exactly. That's why it's called box breathing. Its main benefit. It's incredibly grounding, excellent for reducing anxiety quickly, improving focus, especially when you feel stressed. It gives your mind that steady, predictable rhythm to latch onto.
Makes sense. And you said 4 seconds is common, but you can adjust it.
Yes, absolutely. Some people might find 5 or 6 seconds works better for them, or they might make the exhale longer than the inhale, perhaps. The key is finding a rhythm that feels calming and sustainable for you.
So the big takeaway for box breathing is calm and focus.
Pretty much. It helps regulate the nervous system. That steady pattern really helps quiet mental chatter. And remember, breathing through the nose helps filter air, and that deep diaphragmatic breath encourages relaxation.
Interesting. Okay, moving back to yoga pranayama, you mentioned it's more than just breathing exercises. It involves prana, this life force energy.
That's right. In the yogic view, pranayama isn't just about oxygen and CO2. It's about consciously controlling and directing prana, which is seen as the fundamental vital energy, using the breath as the vehicle.
Wow.
There's a quote from Swami Sivananda: "Mastering pranayama gives you mastery over body and mind." It's considered that significant.
That's a powerful statement. So let's talk specifics. What's a key pranayama technique for, say, an instant energy boost?
For energy, Bhastrika is often recommended. It's known as bellows breath. Think of it like stoking an inner fire. It's very energizing, aimed at quickly revitalizing the body and clearing the mind.
Bellows breath. Sounds intense. How do we do it? Maybe starting gently.
Okay, sit comfortably, spine straight. You take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs. Then you exhale forcefully through your nose, actively pulling your abdominal muscles inwards.
Okay, forceful exhale.
Yes, and the inhale is forceful too, or at least active. You continue these strong, rapid inhales and exhales through the nose, like pumping a bellows. Keep the pace steady. Maybe start with just 10 or 15 rounds.
Right, short bursts to begin.
Definitely. After your set number of breaths, take a deep inhale, maybe hold it briefly if that feels okay, and then exhale slowly and completely. Relax for a moment.
And the main benefit here is?
Quick energy boost and mental clarity. It really stimulates the nervous system and floods the body with oxygen.
Sounds like a good alternative to coffee.
Yeah.
But what about those cautions you mentioned earlier? They seemed quite specific for Bhastrika.
Yes, very important. Because it involves such rapid, forceful breathing, Bhastrika can significantly increase blood pressure within the abdomen.
Oh.
That's why it's strongly advised against for pregnant women during menstruation, or if someone has high blood pressure, heart issues, hernia, stomach ulcers, epilepsy, vertigo, or has had recent abdominal surgery.
So it's powerful, but needs respect and caution. Always check with a professional, friend.
Absolutely essential for this one.
Okay. What about a pranayama technique that's perhaps a bit gentler, more calming?
A very fundamental and much gentler practice is nadi shodhana. That translates to alternate nostril breathing.
Alternate nostril. I think I've heard of that one.
It's primarily focused on balancing the nervous system, calming the mind. Think of it as harmonizing your inner energies, bringing a sense of peace and equilibrium.
Sounds lovely. How does it work? Simply put.
Okay, again, sit comfortably. You'll use your right hand. Fold your index and middle fingers down towards your palm. Use your thumb to gently close your right nostril.
Okay, thumb closes right nostril.
Now breathe in slowly and deeply through your left nostril.
In through the left.
At the top of the inhale, use your ring finger to gently close the left nostril. Release your thumb from the right nostril and breathe out slowly and completely through the right nostril.
Out through the right.
Then breathe in through the right nostril, close the right with your thumb, open the left, and breathe out through the left. That's one full round.
Ah, okay. In left, out right, in right, out left. Got it.
Exactly. You just continue alternating like that, keeping the breath smooth, slow, and even.
That sounds very rhythmic and calming.
Yeah.
Any cautions for this one?
Generally, nadi shodhana is considered very safe and beneficial for most people. The only real issue is if your nose is significantly blocked, obviously.
Makes sense? Okay, good to know. And the last pranayama technique on our list is Brahmari, the bee breath. The name alone is intriguing.
Brahmari is wonderful. It's specifically aimed at calming the mind, reducing stress, anxiety, even anger. Its benefit is like an instant soothing balm for the nervous system.
Bee breath. Is there an actual buzzing involved?
Yes, that's the key part. So sit comfortably, spine straight, keep your eyes gently closed. You can lightly plug your ears with your thumbs or index fingers, just enough to block out external noise.
Okay, ears gently closed.
Take a deep breath in through your nose. Then, as you exhale slowly through your nose, keep your mouth closed and make a low-pitched, steady humming sound, like a bee buzzing.
Like that.
Exactly like that. Feel the vibration gently in your head. Continue this for maybe 6-10 rounds. Focus on the sound and the vibration.
That sounds like it would really draw your attention inwards and create a sense of peace. Very cool. Okay, let's switch gears now to the Wim Hof method breathing. It's gained a lot of popularity recently.
It certainly has. The foundational technique involves quite distinct phases. It usually starts with rounds of deep, controlled breathing.
Okay, can you break that down step by step? How does the breathing part begin?
Right. So typically you sit or lie down comfortably. The inhale is often described in parts, though some just do one deep breath. But think, first, breathe deep into your belly. Let it expand fully.
Belly breath first.
Then continue the inhale into your chest, expanding your rib cage.
And chest.
And finally, bring the breath all the way up, almost feeling it in your head. A full, deep inhale. Then you just let the exhale go, passively. Don't force it out, just release.
Okay, so a really full inhale, then just let it fall out. What's next?
After that initial phase, you move into accelerated breathing rounds. You do maybe 30 to 40 of those full inhales and passive exhales, but much faster, more powerfully, really trying to saturate the body with oxygen.
Wow, 30 or 40 rapid breaths. That sounds like it could make you feel quite lightheaded or tingly.
It often does. That's considered part of the process. It's definitely energizing.
Okay, so after these rapid breaths, what happens?
After the last rapid breath, you exhale fully again. Not force, just let it go, and then you hold your breath out. You hold it for as long as you comfortably can without straining.
Yeah.
This is the retention phase.
Right, the breath hold after the exhale. How long do people typically hold?
It varies hugely. Beginners might hold for 30 seconds, experienced practitioners for several minutes. The key is listening to your body, not pushing too hard.
Okay. And then after that hold?
When you feel the urge to breathe, you take one deep, full recovery breath in, and then you hold that breath for a shorter period, maybe 10 to 15 seconds.
Hold the inhale this time.
Yes. And during this short inhale hold, often people are encouraged to tense their muscles, squeeze the pelvic floor, tighten the core, neck, maybe even gently push energy towards the head, sometimes called power breathing or squeeze breath.
Okay, so it's a cycle. Deep, fast breathing, hold the exhale, recovery breath, hold the inhale with tension.
That's the basic cycle, yeah. usually repeated for 3 or 4 rounds.
And what are the main benefits people associate with this specific method?
Well, proponents in some preliminary sources mention potential benefits like lowering blood pressure, faster recovery after physical exertion, and there's ongoing research into whether it might help manage symptoms of certain autoimmune conditions like arthritis, fibromyalgia, maybe even MS or COPD, though it's crucial to say much more rigorous research is needed to confirm these things.
Right. Potential benefits, but needs more scientific backing. And the Wim Hof method isn't just breathing, is it? Cold exposure is a big part too.
Absolutely fundamental. Cold showers, ice baths. That's a key pillar. The idea is that controlled exposure to cold can train your cardiovascular system, improve circulation, perhaps reduce inflammation.
Cold showers definitely requires some willpower. And I remember mindset being mentioned as important too.
Hugely important. Mental focus, commitment, self-belief, they're considered just as vital as the breathing and the cold. Overcoming the mental resistance to the cold or the intense breathing is seen as part of the practice's power.
So a three-pronged approach. Breath, cold, mind.
Okay, now let's move to Kundalini yoga breathing. We touched on it earlier. This tradition really emphasizes the energetic side of breath, doesn't it? It really does. In Kundalini yoga, breath, or pranayama, is seen as having these very profound, almost immediate energetic effects on your system.
And different patterns are used for different things.
Exactly. Specific breathing patterns are believed to do things like expand lung capacity, sharpen concentration, increase your ability to hold your breath, generate specific types of energy, help the body release toxins, and give you tools to regain control during stressful moments.
And you mentioned earlier they link specific breaths to the chakras, those energy centers.
Yes, very much so. For instance, there's an exercise involving sitting on one heel, bending forward and back rhythmically with the breath, which is specifically linked to the first chakra, Muladhara.
And what's the benefit associated with that?
It's said to aid elimination, foster calmness, and even enhance resistance to disease. So very specific energetic and physical connections are made.
That's really interesting. Can you give us an example of a relatively simple Kundalini breathing technique?
Well, one fundamental practice is simply using slow, deep breathing consciously during challenging yoga postures, or kriyas. The idea is that the breath helps you manage discomfort or pain, much like focused breathing during childbirth, perhaps.
Okay, using breath to navigate intensity. Makes sense. What about something more distinctively Kundalini?
A very well-known one is breath of fire. This involves rapid, rhythmic, and forceful inhalations and exhalations through the nose, with a strong focus on the exhale, powered by snapping the navel point in and up.
Breath of fire. Sounds powerful, like Bostrico almost.
Similar, but with subtle differences in emphasis and technique. It's known for quickly generating heat and energy, purifying the blood. But again, because it's powerful, it's really best learned from a qualified Kundalini instructor who can check your form and ensure it's appropriate for you.
Right. Professional guidance is key for the stronger techniques. Any other examples that might be easier to grasp?
Another technique involves segmenting the breath. For example, inhaling in 4 distinct sniffs or parts and exhaling in 4 distinct parts.
Okay, breaking the breath up.
Yes. And this is often combined with mentally chanting a mantra with each part, like S-A-A-N-A-A-M-A-A on the inhale, S-A-A-A-N-A-A on the exhale, sometimes with a slight pull of the navel on each syllable.
And the goal of that one?
It's often used for mental stillness, breaking habitual thought patterns, enhancing concentration.
That sounds like a very focused practice.
Yeah.
Now, we also had key breathing mentioned briefly in our sources. What's the core idea there?
Ki breathing, often associated with Japanese martial arts and health practices like Ki-Aikido, focuses on developing a very long, slow, calm breath.
How long are we talking?
The goal is often to gradually increase the duration of the inhalation, the exhalation, and sometimes a hold after the exhale, aiming for potentially up to 30 seconds for each phase.
Wow. 30 seconds in, 30 seconds out? That takes serious practice.
It does. It's about cultivating a deep sense of calm, centeredness, and internal energy ki. The courses also mentioned that practicing forward bends can help facilitate a more complete exhalation, which is important for this style of deep breathing.
Okay, so a focus on extreme length and calm. Interesting. Now, let's maybe zoom out a bit and connect breathing to some of these broader concepts we encountered, like prana and ki.
Yes, it's fascinating how different traditions arrive at similar ideas. We talked about prana in yoga, that vital life energy moved by breath. And in Chinese traditions like Tai Chi or Qigong, you have Qi or Qi, which is conceptually very similar, the body's intrinsic life force or energy.
Right.
And in these practices, the slow, deliberate movements are always coordinated with deep, conscious breathing. The breath is seen as the pump, the cultivator, the director of Qi, helping it flow smoothly and strongly throughout the body.
So different names, prana, ki, but a shared understanding of breath is the key to working with this vital energy.
Exactly. The breath is like the tangible handle on this subtle energy.
That makes a lot of sense. We also mentioned yin and yang. How does breathing fit into that concept?
Well, yin and yang represent those complementary opposite forces, dark light, passive active, feminine masculine, that are fundamental in Taoist philosophy and Chinese medicine. Balance is key.
Yeah.
Practices like Tai Chi are inherently about balancing yin and yang through movement and breath. In Chinese medicine, different parts of the body or functions might be considered more yin or yang, for instance. The front of the body often yin, the back yang. Breath is seen as mediating the flow and balance between them.
And this applies to yoga too.
Yes, you see it reflected in different yoga styles. You have active, heating, more muscular yang styles like vinyasa or ashtanga, maybe good if you're feeling low energy. And then you have yin yoga, which is slow, passive, holding gentle stretches for long periods to work on deeper connective tissues. Breath is approached differently in each.
So breath acts almost like a bridge, helping to balance these internal forces depending on the practice. Finally, we look to the Tao Te Ching. How does this ancient text connect to breathing?
The Tao Te Ching doesn't really give specific breathing techniques like the yoga texts or Wim Hof. Its focus is much more philosophical.
Right.
But its emphasis on things like stillness, presence, non-striving, being grounded even amidst activity. These core Taoist principles resonate deeply with the practice of mindful breathing.
How so?
Well, the simple act of bringing your awareness fully to your breath, feeling the inhale and the exhale without trying to change anything initially, is a powerful way to cultivate that inner stillness and presence the Tao Te Ching talks about. It's about finding that quiet center in the here and now.
So it's less about technique and more about the quality of awareness that mindful breathing fosters, which aligns with Taoist ideals.
Precisely. Finding that stillness within the movement of breath and, by extension, within the movement of life.
Okay, this has been a really rich exploration covering so much ground, from the mechanics to the energetics to the philosophy of breath. So for you listening, what are some simple, practical things to take away from all this?
I think the most important takeaway is probably to start gently and experiment. See what resonates with you. Not every technique is for everyone or for every situation.
Good claim.
Pay attention to how different ways of breathing actually make you feel during the practice and afterwards. Find something that feels supportive, maybe even enjoyable, and that you can realistically incorporate into your life. Don't feel pressured to do the most intense thing right away.
So permission to explore and find your own fit. What else?
Just try to integrate small moments of mindful breathing into your day. It doesn't have to be a formal 20-minute session. Maybe just taking 3 conscious, slightly deeper breaths when you notice you're feeling stressed or when you're waiting in line or first thing in the morning. These little pauses can make a surprising difference in resetting your nervous system.
Little anchors of calm throughout the day. I like that.
Exactly. And finally, perhaps see this whole exploration as an invitation. An invitation to get curious about your own breath, your own inner state, and how they influence each other. Think about how these insights might inform your own journey towards, well, greater well-being, self-awareness, maybe even vitality.
That's a wonderful way to frame it. So maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering how deeply connected our inner state, our thoughts, feelings, energy seems to be with our outer practices, like how we breathe. What's one small intentional shift you could perhaps make today, starting now, to begin cultivating a more profound sense of inner peace and energy?
A great question to ponder.
We really wish you all the best as you explore the amazing, ever-present power of your own breath and what it can do for your well-being. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.